Hello, unstoppable real estate investors. I'm Rayanna Starr, and I'm your host for the Unstoppable Real Estate Investor podcast that we have weekly in my group, the Unstoppable Real Estate Investor. And we then share these posts in hundreds of real estate investment groups throughout Facebook. And then we post it on our YouTube channel. If you're interested in being a guest on my podcast, just reach out to me in a DM. And my assistant, Rose, we have a whole process. We'll be happy to sign you up. Currently, we're booked up through February. We do have some February dates open. Please just reach out to us, and we'd love to schedule you. We're at a point now where I guess word's gotten around. We don't even go looking for podcast guests anymore. People are coming to us, which is a beautiful thing. Today, we do this at noon Eastern every Wednesday, have been for a couple of years now. And today we have a special guest, Loriel Keaton. And we're going to be talking about short-term rentals today. And everybody's, probably wondering what's going on there because it was such a boom for a couple of years during the pandemic. And then things have changed. Some of the laws in some states, like I know in Asheville city limits, they don't allow short-term rentals. It's got to be 30 days or longer. And there's other states like Los Angeles, people are just going nuts. So there's a lot of things going on with short-term rentals, Airbnb, whatever. And Loriel will be here to talk about that. That's her little niche. She loves helping people with. Loriel, thank you so much for being a guest. Welcome.
Oh, thanks, Rihanna, for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here too. So let's start where we always start with everyone and tell us a little bit about just you personally, professionally, before real estate.
Okay. Well, interesting, because I've been in real estate for a bit now, and I actually still wear two roles. I know it's very popular narrative in social media right now to quit your job and invest in real estate. I actually still have my full-time job, and I'm full-time in real estate, and I'm a mom, so I'm quite busy. But prior to getting into real estate, I was a dolphin trainer, and I still am.
A dolphin trainer? No
Yes,
wonder
ma'am.
you haven't quit your job. How cool.
Yes, I
Or are you at a local zoo?
No, we're actually down in the Florida Keys. I work for a nonprofit research facility that connects people with dolphins and sea lions. And I am a manager there and been there about 20 years. And what started as a little thing on the side with real estate has grown into a second career, but I still have my passion job too. So I'm still working my W-2 job.
All right. So gotta back up there. How did you get into dolphin training? Tell us your background and how you wow, that is so cool. I love dolphins and whales. So.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, I did too. And it's funny as you get older, I'm really big on mindset, and I'm always working every day on trying to improve myself. And I think about when I was a little kid, I was maybe 5. I got on a family trip, got to see dolphins, and I decided then that I was going to be a dolphin trainer, and I just never let go of it and went to school for marine biology, left the house at 17 years old, went to school, did it myself, worked full time to get through school. And right at the end of college, a friend of mine told me about this little nonprofit. I didn't even know where I was going to go. They said, there's this little nonprofit in the Florida Keys. We loved it. You should see it. So I went down there, fell in love. It's a very special place. And I have been there ever since. I got a job within about 6 months of visiting. And somehow I started as a young kid, just, working in the fish house. And now I run the team for the facility. So I'm in charge of all the training.
You know what's so cool about that? I have coached literally thousands of people. I've been a business coach for almost 24 years, 23 years. And I've noticed this phenomenon that when someone's on their right path, there's no blocks or struggle. It just kind of flows and doors open for them. And then there are other people that they just struggle to bumble through things. When something like that happens where you oh my God, I love this is my dream. And then 6 months out of school, you've got the dream job. It's like you were freaking meant to do that. And your
I
whole
think so.
face lights up too.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I
Yeah.
have
And
to come down and visit you and see you in action. That
come,
would be so
oh my
cool.
gosh, come visit. I know.
I
Actually,
would love that.
I'm wearing my little dolphin tail necklace. I left work for a few minutes to come to do your
I
podcast.
have a
So.
little gold dolphins kissing, like a
Oh
dolphin.
yeah.
I'm a Pisces, so I loved it. Like two dolphins coming together ring. I'll have to get it out and wear it in your honor. I
Oh, that's so
love this.
sweet.
No
Yeah,
wonder you're still working your full-time job. Here's a good point, folks. This is a great example. Like, yeah, we want to get out of trading time for dollars trap. Okay. If we want to, you want to have the choice to do that. Okay. She doesn't want to. She's doing what she loves. Oh, but by the way, I don't want to have to do this for money. This is just fun. I'm doing the real estate investing. That's really where the money is. So now I can do this and have fun with it and not be worried about paying the bills. I love that.
thank
Love
you.
it.
No, I love it too. And I'm happy that it's happened because I follow a lot of the real estate podcasts. I'm learning constantly. I'm always listening to something to learn. And, it's a lot harder to invest in real estate when you don't have a W-2 job, unless you have been a little further along. And they don't necessarily tell you that coming out of the gate, but it's because of our job that it has helped us to
Or
continue.
if you don't have hundreds of thousands in capital, you like people who come in, like I have some clients that are millionaires. They come to me, they don't need the money,
right?
But they want to invest, and that's how they want to, and they can just acquire large, portfolios quickly. But you're right. Most people are starting, Dave Ramsey style. Your income is what will lead you to wealth. Well, not if you're only making $1,200 a month and your mortgage is $1,000.
Exactly.
The truth is, and it is easier to get loans. There are loans you can get that, like DSCR loans. Yeah, there's a little bit about you, but it's more about the property's performance.
Right.
But, in the end, you're right. It's much easier to get your foot in the door with real estate investing when you have a good W-2 job.
And then as you progress, I mean, we have been doing that in just the last couple of years. It becomes less necessary to have the W-2, but it just also, like to say that to people, depends on your goals and how many properties you want and things like that. I think some people exit their W-2 a little too early. So we've tried not to do that. And I love what I do.
Yeah, I cringe when I inherit coaching clients that tell me they had a coach before. I used to be a coach at Fortune Builders, and it just pisses me off when they've had coaches in the past that say, burn the bridge and burn the boats and quit your job and be all in. It's like, then someone's operating out of desperation, unless they've got a good big nest egg that they've got the capital to do that. But I think it's better. Now there may be a point where you are serving two masters like you are. Mm-hmm. And because you're passionate about both things, you're like, I'm okay being busy. I like my life. I'm busy because I want to be, not because I have to be, kind of thing. Yeah. But there's a point where most real estate investors want to get to where they're, okay, now I'm to a point where I'm serving two masters. And I always say, well, let's make sure you're consistently getting these results in your real estate business for 3 months or 6 months. And you can count on that before you quit your job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's really smart. Yeah. And depending on where you're invested in real estate, it can be changing. So it is, especially short term, which we're going to talk about. So you do want to make sure that you can ride the highs and the lows of the market a bit.
Yeah. So talk about, so you started out marine biologist, you get your dream job for a nonprofit.
Yep.
You're the manager of, you're training dolphins and sea lions and all that. So how did you go from that into real estate investing? Where did that start for you?
So what's interesting is I always loved real estate. And actually, while I was in college, I was in University of North Carolina at Wilmington. So I went to, I'm not from there, but I went to school there. I got my real estate license in North Carolina while I was still in college because I was helping manage an apartment complex, mostly because I needed the free washer dryer and like 20% off the rent because I was putting myself through school. So I was helping do that. And I really loved real estate. So I got my license and I didn't have it very long. I kind of let it lapse because then the dolphin thing took off and I went to Florida and that was it. But I always kind of loved it. And I met my husband at the facility that I work at. And, you know, we have 3 kids and we went to, one of my trainers was getting married in Asheville, North Carolina. Never been there.
That's where I live.
I know you're local, so it's kind of amazing. So she was getting married in Asheville, and our youngest at the time was like 7, 8 months old. And I was like, babe, I'm not sure if we're going to do this road trip. Like, this is a lot, but we really wanted to go to the wedding. And so we went. Where we're staying in Fairview. Fairview, I think, was where our Airbnb was. And it was this cute little cabin on a creek, and it was adorable, and we loved it. And just, it was kind of like the dolphin training thing. We're driving around Fairview, Asheville, and I looked at my husband, Adam, and I'm like, you know, it'd be great to have a property here that we rent out just to be able to take the kids to the mountains and experience something different than the Florida Keys. And he's like, yeah, we should do it. We had no business buying a property. I mean, we're working for a nonprofit. I'm putting like $15 a week in my 401k after like 15 years. I don't have much. And
Keep
so,
talking.
go ahead.
No, keep talking. Go ahead.
Okay. So we decided that we wanted to do it. So we came back. The wedding was in May. We look at our credit, and mine was pretty good. My husband had a couple things he had to do. So we're like, all right, let's get this fixed up. And I called an agent. I don't know how I found her. This is like when you say that things just happen the way that they should. We were looking in Fairview. Prices were a little higher than maybe we could afford. And this agent says to me, you know, you really should look a little further west in Maggie Valley. It is a small town, but it's very popular with short-term rentals. And there's a ski resort there so you can rent year round. So that really piqued my interest because we don't have the extra money to, you know, have a slow season where it's not renting. And so we started looking at properties. I've never been there. We were looking through like videos and on Zillow and things like this. And by this point, I think it's August. We have everything like squared away. We don't have any debt. We also don't have any money. I think between us, we had about, after 15 years, I'm sorry to say, I think I had about $70,000 from the 2 of us in our 401k. That's all we had. Nothing for a down payment. And this agent showed us a property in Maggie Valley from a video. Still never been there. Has a beautiful view. And I didn't tell you, my husband can fix anything. He's great at renovation. And it needed a little bit of work. This is 2019. So it's before everything has gone crazy. And we were like, well, we could take a little bit of money from our 401k. We're going to get a 10% second home loan. Absolutely insane. I'm not exactly sure how we qualified. And we did. And we bought the house sight unseen from the video in a town we've never been to. We borrowed a little bit from our 401k for the down payment, had to pay that back. We closed remotely. And I'll never forget when we pulled into the bank to close, I was crying. I was so scared. I'm like, I cannot believe we're buying a second house. We have like 3 kids, not really much money, but we're going to do it. And so we closed. We drove up there a week later and spent about 12 days doing some renovation work and just like stuff that we could do ourselves, put it on the rental market. And that was our first property. That's the first one.
How did it perform as a rental?
So I was very fortunate. And when I say that I want to help people, I'm very passionate about this too, because I absorbed a lot of content. Like as soon as we knew we were going to go into short-term rentals, I was just looking for anything that I could learn about how to be a short-term rental and how to be a good host, because we started talking to property managers, which is ironic because now I am one, but we started talking to property managers and we couldn't afford them. I mean, they all wanted 20% or more. And I was like, we can't do this.
20%, 7 to 8 up to 10% is the average.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, unless you wanted to go with a bigger company, which has their drawbacks, like some of the big national companies are 10%, but we can get into that later. They have their issues, but we couldn't afford it. So I was like, well, we're going to manage it ourselves and we're just going to figure this out. And so we opened, I think November 1st, we closed in October. We opened November 1st. First time I got a booking, like it happened within 24 hours of the listing, my stomach flipped over. Like I couldn't believe we had a booking already and how is it going to go? but it did really well. We have fortunately, even through the pandemic, always been able to break even or better. Actually, our properties all they all cash flow at this point, and now we have six in that town. But they all cash flow. But even in the early days, and then when the calendar was closed for the pandemic, we've always covered the mortgage and all the bills just through the rental. So it's gotten better. Obviously, there was a couple really, really good years, but for 2023, we're going to still, all of our properties are performing better than they did in 21 and 22. So, which is a big deal because those were high numbers.
Yeah, especially for short-term rentals.
Yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely. So so we bought that house and
with the fear of God in you, total amateurs, figuring it out, you got lucky.
Probably, I mean, yeah.
What did you learn from that, and how did you evolve in the process of how you acquired properties, how you if you fixed them up, and then how you managed them? And also, did you get more savvy with your numbers and learn about net operating expense, cash on cash, cap rate, all that? How did you evolve in the process?
Oh my goodness. Well, every day you're learning something. So I remember we were in our second house. I was like, oh, we're doing the BRRRR strategy. I didn't even know what it was, but I heard about it on a podcast and I was like, oh yeah, that's what we're doing. So every property we bought below market, but they were all on the MLS. So we were looking for stuff that needed work, mostly because nobody else would buy them and they were cheaper, and because Adam can fix anything. And so we were looking for properties that we could add value, refinance, and then use the money again to buy another one. And so the first two times we did it, I didn't even realize that was the BRRRR method, but again, we were green. So we've learned a lot about it. And I got a really good sense of numbers. Like, one of the things that's really nice about staying in one area, and there's pros and cons to having all of your rentals in one place at the moment, because you've got your all eggs in one basket, so to speak. However, for me, self-managing, I really came to understand the market. It's a small town, it's a small market. And so I understood pricing long before. I mean, I don't even use a dynamic pricing tool now. I don't need to. I'm my own dynamic pricer. So I've gotten very good at judging what a property is going to make in that area anytime, every month. I know what the highs are, the lows.
Because you are doing your own property management. Do you think
I think so?
I
think that really helped us. And to kind of let you know how we ended up at 5 was that, so or 6, we have one that we do rental arbitrage. Most we own. I have one rental arbitrage property, but like I should say that I wanted to delve into it and learn a little bit, and we took one on. But after our first one, we really loved it. I also really love taking care of guests. And I think that's lost in short-term rentals. And because there's so many investors that listen to this, what you need to know about short-term rentals as a real estate investor is that if you choose to manage it yourself, you are now in hospitality. And if you don't want to be in the hospitality business, find a great property manager.
Yeah. And could, talk more about that. Like, what makes you a good host? Because some people are not built for that. They don't like catering to people, making sure there's fresh flowers and you've got coffee and creamer and you've got bagels and you're doing those extra things. If you're just like, forget that, talk about that piece of being a good host, because you're absolutely right. And if you are self-managing, and if you're not, if you're going to have like a company, there's a lot of them out there with Airbnb, like Evolve or things like that. Companies that will actually manage your Airbnbs for you, but they take like usually 30% or something like that. But talk about what makes a good host.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that, because we were talking about podcast. It's something that my husband and we're going to be launching a YouTube channel so that I can help people with this topic. Because if there wasn't people like you and other folks that do this kind of content on the internet, I wouldn't be the host that I am, because I have just been like trying to learn as much as possible. So with what you asked about hosting, it is really important. So in the town that we're in, there are some luxury rentals. I manage a few luxury properties, which is kind of a different client, but most of these are families and older couples coming to the area. And they're not necessarily, they're more on a budget. So I don't have to worry about so much the high-end luxury stuff that needs to be waiting for them when they come into the house. But the first and foremost, the most important thing is communication. Absolutely communication, because people want to feel heard. They want to know when they made their reservation that they get a message back that says, thanks for booking. This is some of the details. I'll be in, some people book with me 6 months out. They get a message as soon as they book that even says, I'll be in touch closer to your stay. But in the meantime, here's my info. Message me anytime if you have questions. And then a month before their stay, they get a touch base that says, hey, we're looking forward to hosting you.
Key to make yourself accessible.
Exactly. And what a lot of people don't realize is on the different platforms, Airbnb and Vrbo and things like that, your response rate really matters. And so you need to make sure that you're answering people quickly. It's also typically how you get a booking. A lot of times when people are sending messages to hosts about like asking questions about their property, but they haven't booked yet, they're messaging 3 or 4 other people. And I answer immediately. And I very often get the booking. And they're like, and I hear that a lot. Thank you so much. You responded so fast. If you look at our profile on Airbnb alone, I think at this point, and we are 4 years in, we have almost 800, almost 5-star reviews. Our rating is like 4.96 or something like that.
Wow, good for you. All right, so communication is key.
Yes.
What are some other things that you think are important that make you a good Airbnb or short-term rental host?
So some other things are managing expectations with your guests. So, we're in the mountains. I get a lot of people that visit from other areas. It's really important. I think a lot of people are misled when they're doing their listings to sell their property in a way that maybe they're embellishing a little bit more than they should. You want to make sure that what you put on your listing, you're actually delivering. And while I'm a big advocate for professional photos and you should do them, don't have them edited so much that it doesn't look like the real thing when people walk in the house. It should
because you want people pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
You don't want to oversell it and then they walk in disappointed.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. You really want to kind of meet expectations. If I've got a property that it is a gravel road, a little harder to get to, it's on the listing. I send people stuff right away for the mountains that says, don't use GPS, use this app. This is better. It'll take you right to the door. I mean, all kinds of things like that are really important. The other thing that I think really matters, and this can be, I wouldn't say it's controversial, but it's tough because I kind of see it as a cost of doing business. Somebody's going to break a wine glass or like they're going to do something, mess up a towel. A lot of people will tell you, not everybody, but a lot of people will be like, I just had one. She was like, we broke a wine glass. What do I owe you? And I'm like, you don't owe me anything. But some people will be like, oh my gosh, you need to be watching your numbers and your bottom line. But the thing is that wine glass that I tell a guest, like, hey, don't worry about it. Not a big deal. It happens. And they're so grateful. That 5-star review that I get from them gets you so much more in value than the $5 you're getting for the wine glass if you charge them. It sets a completely different tone. And that's hospitality too. I'm not talking about
being generous and giving people space.
Yes.
Communicating with them. What else makes you a good host? Are there little extra accoutrements and little things that wow factor stuff?
So one of the things that I discovered that I'm a lot better at that I realized was design and making people feel at home. So because all of our properties are ones that we renovated, Etsy is one of my like favorite sites because you can find cool little touches and little signs that like make people feel at home. And so we do a lot of that. I want, like I said, I have 3 kids. I want to walk into a property and feel like I have everything that I need. So like, we've got the Keurig coffee maker and a drip coffee maker, and we give you a coffee supply and there's creamer so that, we do the paper products and some shampoo and soap so that, the first day you get there, you're not running to a grocery store. You've got the little things that you need. All the linens and towels or supplies, there's, extra everything. That's really important to making, our spice cabinets are full. You don't have to go looking for salt and pepper. We have it there for you. The coffee filters are there. It's little things like that that I think really matter. Another thing that I do that is somewhat labor intensive, but I really like it, is I do handwritten notes for every guest. So, and I'm doing this remotely. So I send them to members of our team, but I'll write a welcome note to every guest. And usually when they first book, I try to build a rapport, what's bringing you to the area. Sometimes they already tell me, oh, we're coming for a wedding or we're coming for this. So I always mention that in the note. And I get a lot of comments about that, saying thank you for, you had a handwritten note there. And even for guests that book last minute, I'll handwrite a more generic welcome note specific to that house that is there waiting for them when they check in.
And how are you getting those notes to your team if you're down in the Keys and your rentals are up in Maggie Valley?
Yeah. So I try to come quarterly. That doesn't always happen. We're there probably a minimum of twice a year though. And then I'll write them out for maybe 6 weeks and I leave them anytime I'm up there for the reservations that I have. We do book pretty far out, which is great. And I have a lot of returning guests. But then I also I mail them. I write them out at night when the kids are in bed and then I ship them to one of our cleaners.
Okay. All right, cool. So anything else that you're doing that's little special touches or things that people have appreciated or things that you think should just be standard when you're being a short-term host?
I mean, some of the stuff I mentioned, I really think should be standard. I don't think that anybody should go into a house and not have at least their starter supply of toilet paper and paper towels and all that kind of stuff should be there. Obviously, it needs to be clean. Your cleaner is the backbone of your business. So you really need a solid cleaning team. We work with 3 different cleaners actually for the number of properties that we take care of at this point. They're all amazing. And they're your eyes and ears too when you can't be there. But the other little touches, I mean, I send every guest the morning after their first night a message asking them, did we meet their expectations? How was your first night? Anything that I know about their stay, I'll put into the message. But I'm always asking. That goes a really long way because at the end of the day, most people in hospitality, they just want to be heard. They just want to know that like you care. Another thing that I credit my husband with is when we first got our first house, he said, I want to do discounts for military and first responders. And I said, I love it. So that's listed on all of our listings and we give 10% off to military and first responders. We've extended it to nurses. I've had a teacher go, I'm a teacher. And I'm like, I've got 3 kids. Yes, I'll give you the 10%. It goes such a long way. And it just really shows people that you care. We give a discount to any returning guests as well. And we do that.
10%, it's a goodwill thing, but 10%, like, let's just say you're charging $150 a night. It's $15.
It's nothing. Yeah,
it's nothing,
I do.
But it is an investment in goodwill.
It's an investment in goodwill. And the thing that I love too is that a lot of people will say, they're like, what do you need? Do you need my military ID? Do you need my DD-214? And I'm like, no. I said, it's on the honor system. If you ask us, then we'll do it. Because for me, and that means so much. They're like, really? I hear that all the time. I'm like, I don't need to see credentials. If you've asked about it, then, we trust it. And I kind of look at it from the standpoint of if someone is not telling the truth about a military discount, then they need that money more than we do. And it's just a show of generosity. The other thing that people don't realize about Airbnb is that when you have something, when a guest engages with you, if they haven't booked yet, but they send you a message and you respond, that ups you in the search results the more that happens. So we have that listed and it says, please message us for details. So we get a lot of messages about the discount and then
You're playing with the algorithm.
Absolutely.
System. Yes. And so the more proactive you are in your communication engagement, the higher your ranking.
Yes. It's an interest algorithm and there's lots of ways to play with that. And that is one of the ones that a lot of people don't realize.
That's funny because my VA Rose, who's managing the chat for me right now, that's an algorithm in Facebook also, like on these podcasts.
Yeah.
And now we're at a point where we don't even go looking for podcast guests. They come to us, but we've been noticing our engagement in the podcast has been going up because she manages the chat and engages with everybody on there.
Awesome.
And that does, engagement helps with algorithms. And I'm always telling people this, please, like on Weekly Tip Monday, where I'm going live and I'm giving you value, please engage, please do something. That's my payment for pouring into you. Please engage. Those of us who are out there giving, there, I've had clients come to me and say, oh, I've been watching you for 2 years, like finally. And I'm like, really? I never, because there was no engagement until finally there was engagement. People don't get that also when you're doing the engaging, you become more visible as
Yes.
well. So
Yes. That's how, I mean, I think that's how you found me. I really only have Facebook for our business. But I have been getting really involved in real estate investment groups, and and I've learned so much, and it's so helpful. So, and
yeah,
it's a neat market, and it's neat to be able to help people, because unfortunately I hear the story too much that people are in short-term rentals and they're not doing well. And there's an art to it. It's not as easy as it was necessarily
you
portrayed to
have to
be.
be very service oriented and enjoy. It's really about engagement. You really
Yeah.
have to enjoy all those little things, the little notes you mail. What about after a guest has left? Is there anything on your follow-up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I'm checking a guest message. I just need to make sure they didn't need me right now. I just saw my phone pop up. So one of the things that we're also really focused on, which I would really recommend for anybody that's getting into short-term rentals, is you do want to be able to build your business outside of the online travel agencies, the Airbnbs, the VRBOs, all that kind of stuff. They're great. And I am very appreciative of them because they have some of the best marketing in the world. But you want to be able to have your business function outside of Airbnb, outside of VRBO. You want to be able to start moving towards direct bookings. So that is something that we are really focused on. And so to give you a couple of things that we do before, right when any guest leaves, I always send them a thank you for staying with us. And I text them. Airbnb used to not let you see a guest phone number unless they gave it to you through Messenger. They now do. VRBO has always let you. And so I text them and I'm like, here's my number. If you ever want to visit again, we offer a discount to our returning guests. Just text me. We'll be happy to take care of you on a future stay. And a lot of the guests that I build a rapport with, I also get their address. And so, and I can show you one, but to give you an example, I just sent out my holiday cards.
Yeah, let me give you share privilege. Hold on.
Okay. I'm just going to hold it up because
Okay.
I don't have it on my screen if that works, but.
Oh, that's fine too.
Oh yeah, I can just hold it up. But so this is the card that I've sent out, and it's a mountain theme. The winter, going to the mountains is going home. And it's just it's kind of a way to say like, hey, remember the mountains? These go to all of our guests. And then the back has from us and our company and all of that. So I sent
Nice.
a couple hundred of these. They just went out 3 days ago. I already got an email this morning from one of our returning guests saying, got your card and we're coming back. When can I book? So that happens. We do that too. But I really like to connect and grab people's information when they leave, make sure they have my number. And at this point, about, I'd say 25 to 30% of our guests are returning and they book with us directly.
How many?
About 30%.
Is that good?
Yeah. For a returning guest that now you're shifting from just being on Airbnb or Vrbo to having people book with you directly. Everybody makes more money if you can do direct bookings. So that's pretty neat. And then I guess I don't think I got to say that, but how we got to the 5 properties we have, which just kind of circling back to that, is we decided to go all in. And so when COVID happened, I know I told you we didn't have very much in our 401k. We had paid back the loan already. We did that pretty quickly on the first property that we bought. And we found this little one that was like literally crumbling into a creek, like it needed a whole foundation and everything. And COVID was going on. And there was that whole thing where you could empty your 401k up to like $100,000 with no penalty. And again, we only had about $70,000. My husband and I looked at each other. He goes, let's go all in on real estate. And so we used that and we have turned it over 3 more times. So each time we bought a distressed property, renovated it, designed it, turned it into a short-term rental, pulled the money out in a refinance. And that's how we're up to the 5 that we have now.
Awesome. And you started all of this in 2019 with that very first one.
Yes.
And you're up to 6 properties.
Yep.
If you wanted to quit your job, could you? Are you guys making the income you need?
I have 3 kids that I worry about how, weddings and college in the future and things like that. But the properties, we have 10x'd our income from the first full year we were in business. So this is year 4 with the properties. We're doing well. But we also, in being honest and transparent, we've leveraged a lot. It is not like there's a lot of money involved in setting up short-term rentals and doing it with the right linens, the right furniture. everything down to like the puzzles and the games. So we really put ourselves out there. While we were pulling money out, we were immediately putting it into another property. Even our rental arbitrage unit cost me about 20K to get in and do all the furniture and the setup and the design. And so what we have been focused on, our last property we purchased was in 21, and then we did an arbitrage in 22, and we have just been on hold with the market shifting a little bit. And our focus right now has been, okay, how do we move towards paying down some of this leverage so that we can really capitalize on all the money the properties are making? All of them cash flow, depending on the time of year. I mean, our first one, it cash flows 4,000 to 6,000 in the summer. It's an amazing, I mean, and it was a house that now, and it's also, which because we were in before the boom, I mean, it's worth 250,000 more than what we paid for it, which is amazing. So the equity, the equity from being it paid down from all the guests, you know, paying it every month is amazing. It's not a small thing, but we do cash flow as well. So if we wanted to, yes.
You
the
can
other thing
pull
that is,
equity out and expand your portfolio.
yeah, and then the thing that happened, which was a surprise, I mentioned I was a property manager. So you know how I mentioned all the reviews we have, and we're just doing our thing, just trying to make our guests happy, you know, trying to make sure we stay fully booked. I average about 90% or more occupied. That was all we were doing. And it was last year, maybe, I guess, maybe a little bit before that. I had an owner reach out to us through Airbnb that was like, I don't want to book anything, but I need to see if I can find your contact information, because Airbnb is funny about that, which I understand. But they're like, we need a property manager and we're in Maggie Valley, same as you, and we want to know what you're doing because of all your reviews. I mean, what a compliment. And so I ended up talking to him. I was like, we want you to manage our property. And I was like, okay, well, I got to get a real estate license again. I couldn't believe I'd let mine lapse in that state. That's happened to us multiple times. We don't advertise our business. We have been running a property management company for about 7 months at this point. We onboard 1 to 2 houses a month, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in a small town is quite a bit. For us, it's steadily growing. And almost every client has come from, I've had 2 do exactly what, besides that other one, reach out through Airbnb and go, who is your property manager? Because of what you all are doing and reading your reviews. And so it's kind of amazing. So this has taken off in a different way. And as you say, the whole serving 2 masters things, I mean, I don't know exactly where this path is going, in all honesty, at this point, because I love both and we're busy. I mean,
well, where it goes is you start to scale, and that's where you and I could talk sometime. You and your husband and I could get on a connection call, because that's where my specialty is, helping people get out of trading time for dollars and automate. And what it is developing processes and systems, leveraging technology, but other people's time and talent, and starting to train other people how to do what you're doing, so that it's even the property management is passive income for you, because you're not the one who has to do the work anymore.
Great.
So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's the next step.
Yeah, so it's been a very interesting journey and we love it. I mean, we would like to maybe go into another market at some point. But we're really blessed and really happy with how things have been going. And we're just trying to give people the best. And I treat the other thing, when you talk about like owners and hospitality, I use that same hospitality with my owners. I've got 14 owners now that I answer to about their houses, and we have a unique perspective because we're in the same area and we're owners too. And honestly, most property managers, that's not what you find. And I would encourage anybody that needs one to find somebody that's also an investor, because they're going to tell you, they're going to give you the best advice because they get it. I get it in a different way than a property manager that's just managing 50 houses and doesn't even own one. It's very different. So we approach it from that standpoint, and I think it really helps our owners too.
I love it. All right. So talk a little more about, like, well, not a little more, but what has been the biggest challenge for you in your real estate investment journey? And I get that you've specialized in a niche, short-term rentals. That's where your passion is. That's what you like. You're good at it. It fits you. So where's been the biggest challenge for you? And then the second question is this it? This is the niche, the property management, short-term rental, or do you guys have any interest in wholesaling or fix and flip or long-term rentals? You know, so the first thing is, what's been the biggest challenge? That's the past. And then the next question is more about the future. Like, what is the future that you guys are working towards?
Well, I would say the biggest challenge, it's mindset. It's getting out of your comfort zone, but smartly, and taking action. Even when people think you're crazy, that has been a challenge. Everybody thought we were nuts. Everybody thought we were absolutely crazy to be, in a nonprofit W-2 job and have 5 mortgages. They all thought we were insane. And it's been hard, but when it feels right to do the research and do it and not let outside influences stop you. And also, again, taking action, because I do find that happens a lot with some of the people because I do help coach some people here and there as well as you do. And there's a lot of people that are just in that they'll research and listen for years, but they don't take any action. And action is scary. I mean, I told you I cried through the first closing. The second one, I sat by a dumpster and bawled my eyes out because the house was falling into the creek and we discovered it and we already owned it. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did we do? We just cashed in everything. But it's been such a blessing. But it is a constant for me getting into that mindset of, yes, I can do it. My limits are been placed by me, not by anybody else. And I have to make sure that I stray away from that limited mindset and think bigger and keep going. So that's a constant challenge. The other one on top of it, I would say as a mom, that is the hardest is balance. And when I was first doing this, everything stressed me out. A dishwasher leaked. Oh my God, it was the end of the world. And my stress level would go crazy of like, it's like, it was a lot. Now I'm like, 2 days ago, I had heat break in both houses, the dishwasher flood, like this, like these were at properties I managed.
Keep calm and property management on.
Yeah, it's all just like, oh, so now you look at it in a different way. It's like, it's a new problem to solve. How will I grow from this one, as opposed to letting your stress kind of take over? I do some meditation at this point, and it's life-changing, because I just look at things as they come in and go, okay, I'm just going to deal with it. And I don't elevate. That was a big challenge, because it can affect the rest of your life if you're constantly stressed over things that come up. So I would not recommend getting into property management unless you learn that, because every day there's a new challenge, whether there's something going on with a guest or something's broken, like it just happens. So as far as where we go from here, we have done a little bit with the sub 2 community. We're taking some training in there as well. It's how I found a lot of you all. So we're interested in that. Fix and flips we'd like to do. We are at the moment kind of watching the market. We're it's not the same as it was. And while there are still deals everywhere, I mean, I'm helping one of our clients actually buy another short-term rental right now, and there are a couple good ones out there. But fix and flip, we will probably do. We want to do them in an area, like, it depends on where we're living. It's hard to do a fix and flip in the Florida Keys. The property values are it's a different level.
Yeah.
They're crazy. But in where we are in the mountains, fix and flip, we would definitely like to do. My husband's very skilled at it, and we're pretty good at this point at assessing properties that we can add value to and that will make a profit. So I've done house hacking and long-term rentals too. In fact, we bought our house in Florida specifically because it had a downstairs apartment, so we could rent it out long-term.
Yeah, I did that here in Asheville. Yeah,
it's great.
I love house hacking.
Yeah, house hack. I don't even know what it was until the last 6 months. I just did it. I didn't know that was the term, but so I love learning, and there's the other thing I really like about the real estate investment community is there's a lot of really good people here, and I really do want to give back and share. And I think what's next for us, like I said, is doing a little bit more of what you do. I have been invited on a number of podcasts, and what has been really interesting is the validation from people that I look up to that maybe don't have the same short-term rental experience. They're people that I'm like, oh my God, they're this amazing real estate investor. And they're like, no, we need to talk to you about short-term rentals because you know what you're doing. And I'm like, how did this happen? So, we want to get back.
It happened one property at a time, one closing at a time, one problem at a time.
That's right. That's totally right. It's just baby stepping and you end up here. So we do want to give back. And I think we're going to create a hosting podcast that is focused on short-term rentals and how people can be successful.
Love that.
Yeah.
So just curious, if you were to jump up on a rooftop and you had a captive audience and you could share words of wisdom that they would just hear and heed, what advice would you give them?
Yes, that is a really great question, because there's so much.
You can say all of it if you want.
Yeah. I mean, First and foremost, I think you really need to have faith in yourself. Find what you love and go after it. Find whatever that is, no matter what people say, find what you love and go after it. I did that with dolphin training. Everybody told me that was crazy. And the same thing with our real estate investment journey. And I have a lot of people, for example, ask me, well, what's the best market for a short-term rental? I'm buying my first one. And you know what I tell them? Buy in a place that you want to go. Your first one should always be in a place where it's like, I want to go vacation or I want to take my family there. It should be something that you care about. So just do what you love and don't let your mindset stop you. Just that's really, I think, the most important thing. And every day try to realize life is a journey and try to be a little bit better than you were yesterday. That's in all aspects of your life. I mean, as a mom, I always feel like I'm never doing good enough as a mom. I'm always trying to work on
I think
that
all
stuff.
moms are plagued with that. Yeah.
I think so. So, those are the things I think that matter. Do what you love and try every day to be a little better than you were yesterday and make a different mistake. Not the same one, make a new one and just learn from it.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things that I've gotten from what you're saying that I really want to reiterate to our audience and listeners is there are so many ways to make money as a real estate investor, like arbitraging short-term rentals. That is probably the easiest and fastest way to get your foot in the door with the least amount of hassle or investment or whatever. Is you don't even have to own the property. You do have to invest in getting it rental ready, but that's a fast, easy, low capital way to get your foot in the door and start making money. I know a lot of people who have just done Airbnb arbitrage or managing other people's rentals. There's so many creative ways you can make money in real estate. And you found your niche early, like you were passionate before you even bought your first rental, like, oh my God. And before you even knew what you were doing, you just lucked out. You found your niche. I've talked to investors with 30 years of experience who had a whole portfolio of rentals. They sold them because they just realized I can just carry notes and not have the headache of being a landlord. So there's so many ways, whether you're wholesaling, fixing, flip, BRRRR, short-term rental, long-term rental, medium rentals, corporate rentals, rentals just to nurses. There's just so many ways. Being a transactional lender like Pace teaches, Gator lending. There's just private money lender, getting involved in a syndicated, maybe hedge fund or whatever. There's multifamily. There's just so many ways. So I just love you sharing this little niche because you're so passionate about it. You love what you're doing and you've created a little boutique business for yourself. I hope it grows and grows. And if you need help with like how to manage that as it gets bigger, then let's talk, because that's where I can help. You just get your processes down and you start giving up a little control to get more freedom. And it's starting to train a team to be an extension of yourself. And that's a little uncomfortable at first to make that mindset shift and a completely different shift in how you're doing your business. It isn't you doing it anymore.
Right.
And it's a little unnerving at first, but
yeah,
that's how you expand your capacities. Because at some point, if you're working a full-time job, being a full-time mom, doing this full-time, something's got to give at some point.
Right.
Be able to expand your capacities.
Yeah, I'd be excited about that. And you're not far from us when we're up there. I'll have to visit you.
Yeah, and likewise. I haven't been down to the Keys since, I'm going to date myself, the 80s, when I used to be in the Navy and I was stationed at NAS Oceana. I was working on a flight line, launching pilots before I became an air traffic controller. And we would go on detachments in Key West at the NAS base down there. And it was like 12 hours of working, 12 hours of partying, very little sleep or anything else. You were either working or partying.
Yep.
And it was such a fun, crazy place, Key West.
Yeah. So well, anytime if you want to come see some dolphins, you just let me know.
And I'll stay in one of your, you're
there in North Carolina.
Maggie Valley. Yeah. Yeah.
But I know some people, so you'll
Yeah.
be
And
good.
let's definitely stay in touch. Thank you so much for being a guest. I love just everything you shared. You're just delightful. It's fun to talk to someone who's passionate about what they're doing. You can tell you love it. And
Oh.
plus, I just think you're cool. You're a dolphin trainer. I mean, I've never met a dolphin trainer before. I just
Oh,
so awesome.
well, thank you so much. And thank you for what you do and just like your journey to help all of us and to bring people together and to learn more. I mean, that's what we're all trying to do. And I think it's amazing. So thank you so much. It's
My
been such a
pleasure.
pleasure.
My
Yeah.
pleasure. All right,
Awesome.
everybody. Thank you for joining us. Please comment anything to Loriel, to me, what you got out of this, what you liked about it, what you might apply for yourself, or reach out to me, schedule a connection call. Rose has probably already put she's already, probably, Rose, if you're still watching, my booking link. So if you want a connection call to chat about something, this is a good time of year, everybody, to be reviewing your year, what worked, what didn't, what did you accomplish, what didn't you, what do you need to tweak, what do you need to do differently. And then now is the time to start setting your goals and laying out a plan for 2024. On January 2nd, it's not too late, but you're kind of behind the curveball. Once you hit 2024, you should be hitting the ground running and knowing what you're doing and why and what you want to accomplish. So if you need help with that, I do offer just one-off coaching sessions with people. So just let me know how I can be of help and how I can serve and support you. Thank you so much, Loriel. Is there anything else you want to say that you haven't had a chance to say?
No, thank you so much. I guess the only thing would be if anybody wants to reach out to me, our company is called Keaton Cottages. We're on Instagram as Keaton Cottages, at KeatonCottages.com, and then I'm Loriel Keaton on Facebook. So I'd love to connect and help anybody out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you're in the group, go ahead and add to the comments after we're done going live any links you want to, so
Perfect.
people can contact you, okay?
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Loriel. Have a wonderful rest of your week and happy holidays.
You too. Happy holidays. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.